Hi everyone, welcome to the TaraElla report, coming to you via the official TaraElla website, Medium, YouTube, and other platforms. I'm a classical liberal and I believe in the re-empowerment of everyday individuals, workers, and small business people against the various establishments that take away our freedom. That is, globalist corporate capitalists, identity politicians, the pro-war establishment, authoritarian religious fundamentalists, and the political correctness police alike. Some are left-wing and some are right-wing, but I don't discriminate between enemies of freedom because we should defeat them all. What we are building is a movement for liberty and equal opportunity at the individual level so that everyone can be their best. If you consider yourself part of this movement, I highly recommend subscribing. The elites want us to fight. They want us to support the endless wars. They want us to feel like there are threats coming at us from all around the world and that their wars are protecting us. But ever since the failure of that pointless war in Vietnam 50 years ago, more and more people are waking up to the truth. The debacle that was the 2003 Iraq War red-pilled even more people about the pro-war establishment. The elites also want us to play along with the endless divisive identity politics. They want us to either be SJWs or be haters. They want us to either feel oppressed and join the far left, or feel fearful of the unfamiliar and join the far right. Yes, postmodernist intersectionality and staunch conservatism are basically two sides of the same divisive coin. They want us to pick a side when there are only two sides of the same coin, designed to distract us from what we really need to do. In fact, we all know what the average individual wants. We want to stop fighting each other, whether it's in real wars or in identity wars. We want to be able to work for our own self-made success, and we don't want to be part of the elite's collectivist agenda on either side of the fake divide. But then, the elites with a hidden agenda don't want what the average guy wants. They want us to fight each other. In their ideal world, they will make the obedient little people put on their fighting gloves and fight each other, whether it's in real wars or in culture wars. The elites not only manufacture fake news, they manufacture fake narratives, fake polarization, and above all, fake conflicts. But then, we have a choice to simply not play the games anymore. Before Tulsi Gabbard started her presidential campaign 2 months ago, I never knew that so many people would be so afraid of peace and aloha, or that so many of them would be in the so-called left. I mean, Tulsi has this simple message of wanting to put an end to the endless wars, and I thought many people would like that, especially self-proclaimed progressives. But then, I was wrong. In just 2 months, Tulsi has been smeared with every label imaginable, and all this smearing has come from her own side of politics. I've even heard a rather popular commentator call her part of the Leninist left, and then call her right-wing in the same video. I won't name names, you know who you are. But let's just let that sink in for a bit. How can somebody be both far left and right-wing? It's like saying how somebody is both tall and short, or how somebody is both fat and skinny. You know, when so-called criticism fails basic logic, it is simply not in good faith. Furthermore, I have repeatedly defended Tulsi from accusations about her past homophobia. Given that she has explained her evolution again and again, you'll have to think that those still accusing her of homophobia are not doing it in good faith. In fact, most of the anti-Tulsi commentary I have seen simply doesn't make sense. I think they are literally trying very hard to convince themselves to hate Tulsi. It's like the bonding ritual of the anti-Tulsi cult, where they try hard to convince each other that Tulsi is literally the devil. But why would people hate Tulsi? or at least want to make themselves hate Tulsi. I think it's because they hate peace and aloha. You know, some people just want to fight, like the schoolyard bully who would pick on someone unprovoked. It's part of human nature, unfortunately. From my personal experience, being a committed moral libertarian who is constantly out and about to promote this essentially peaceful ideology, I have found that some people actually feel threatened by the way I think, because there would be no room for tribalism and fighting. What I have observed is that, for these people, the natural state of life is to pick sides and have fights, and the very concept of peace and getting along with each other is subconsciously threatening for them. I think I saw this in action in the recent CNN town hall with Tulsi. Speaker after speaker essentially wanted to either pick a fight with Tulsi or wanted Tulsi to get into a fight. But they all failed because Tulsi refused to engage any of them. Sometimes, when the world wants to invite you to a fight, the classy response is just to turn them all down using facts and good logic. Let's take a closer look at how Tulsi disarmed those who wanted her to pick a fight and see what we can learn from her example. Let's start with the "Are you a capitalist?" question that was asked quite early on. You know, this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't question for Democrats in 2019. If she had answered yes, then millennials would see her as pro-corporate. If she had answered no, then Republicans would nail her as a communist. So what did Tulsi do? She simply brushed it aside, pointing out that labels are for pitting people against each other, and she's more interested in actually serving the needs of the people. Then came the predictable question of her past anti-gay comments. I imagine she must be sick and tired of answering this one by now, but she did answer it very patiently. We all know that the question is probably not in good faith, and it also came with a false accusation. But she did answer the question in good faith, explaining for the millionth time her evolution on LGBT rights, and not getting frustrated in the process either. I think it takes a very peaceful and patient personality to do that. Sometimes, when the world is against you, patience is the best strategy. Later came the Donald Trump question. Many Democrats love to demonstrate how much they dislike Trump, how much they want to fight him whenever they're asked about him, or even when they're not asked. Elizabeth Warren is the biggest example of this, in my opinion. But that's so not peace and aloha, right? So Tulsi declined to talk about Trump and instead focused on what she would bring to the presidency, like service above self, honor, integrity, and courage. In fact, this has been a feature of Tulsi's campaign and one that I like very much. When every other Democrat is running against Trump, Tulsi is simply running on her ideals. She's not running against something, she's running for something. In these negative times, such positivity is sorely needed. Finally, when Tulsi was asked about her thoughts on potentially becoming the first female president, she could have gone all Hillary Clinton and played the boys versus girls game. I even imagined that would be what some people wanted to hear. But then, to her credit, she didn't take that bait. Instead, she talked about the change she wanted to create. Even when there was a ripe opportunity for division, she turned it down and turned it into a moment of unity. This CNN town hall aside, mainstream media still, by and large, ignore Tulsi Gabbard. I think that perhaps they see her as uninteresting, because she doesn't put up an aggressive fight like so many other candidates do. Mainstream media likes drama, and they are more likely to get it with candidates like Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, who play identity politics and make it about fighting Trump all the time. But most of us want peace, and many people are warming to Tulsi Gabbard's message. I think her popularity can only grow from here. The upcoming debate between Canadian psychology professor Jordan Peterson and Slovenian communist intellectual Slavoj Žižek is perhaps the most highly anticipated debate this year so far. In a sense, this looks to be quite a polarized debate. On one side, we have a capitalist, individualist intellectual, and on the other side, we have an unconventional communist. People are already picking their sides. It's almost like a football match. It certainly has that feeling to it. Perhaps we should expect Peterson fans to gather together to watch the show wearing matching Peterson shirts, and Žižek fans would do the same wearing Žižek shirts. As a classical liberal who also happens to agree with Peterson about 75% of the time, you would think I'd be all Team Jordan. You know, go Jordan, go Jordan, go Jordan. And I guess at least part of me wants Peterson to win this thing. But I do consider myself a true intellectual, and as intellectuals we probably shouldn't see it as a football match with screaming fans on both sides. This is not what rational debate should be. Instead, we should see it as a meeting of ideas, and perhaps some great new insights could come up, especially where the two of them share some common ground. And what common ground do they share? Probably more than you think. Firstly, both Peterson and Žižek are ultimately for some kind of freedom. As a moral libertarian, the idea of individual freedom is the primary principle of my politics, and I would naturally be interested in any debate on freedom. I personally don't think Žižek's communism is the way to freedom, but from Žižek's point of view, he is for freedom. And while I don't agree with him on the economics, I guess we should still try to understand his perspective on culture to see if there is anything we can learn from it. And while I have often criticized neo-Marxism from a moral libertarian viewpoint in the past, from what I understand, Žižek actually isn't into the kind of neo-Marxism that Peterson and I both hate. His views certainly isn't anywhere near your average SJW, for example. You have to remember that Žižek is from Eastern Europe, and the kind of identity neo-Marxism that we hate is basically a Western thing. Because both Peterson and Žižek are ultimately for freedom, they do agree on certain important issues. From what I understand, both men are opposed to political correctness and see it as a form of totalitarian control over individuals, as well as an impediment to resolving important social issues. I hope that they would dedicate some time to this issue during their debate. I firmly believe that the erosion of free speech and the acceleration of political correctness is one of the biggest crises of the Western world right now. The more focus there is on this issue, the better. Another thing I understand that Peterson and Žižek share is that they are both opposed to postmodernism. Political postmodernism is poisoning the minds of young people, and again, the more voices against postmodernist nonsense, the better. I believe that if we want to thoroughly understand an issue, whether it be individual liberty, free speech, political correctness, or the identity politics epidemic, it is important to look at it from different angles. This allows us to form a detailed and nuanced understanding of the issues and leads us to develop the most effective and evidence-based solutions to tackle the problems. Jordan Peterson and Slavoj Žižek will bring very different understandings of these issues to the table, and we will have an opportunity to look at them from different perspectives. This, in my opinion, is what is most valuable about the debate. I guess that Peterson will focus on logic and facts like he always does, and Žižek will focus on a more systematic perspective like he often does. And both perspectives are valid to some extent, even if some of us hate to admit it. If Peterson fans and Žižek fans simply root for their own man and refuse to listen to the other guy, a valuable opportunity to understand the issues will be lost. If, at the end of the debate, we conclude either that Peterson destroyed Žižek or that Zizek destroyed Peterson, it would be a sad conclusion. And it would also be inaccurate indeed, because we would be falsely concluding that one perspective is always correct over another. I really look forward to the Peterson versus Zizek debate. I see it as a meeting of two of the world's most brilliant minds, and a great opportunity for two very different perspectives to mesh together. I really hope everyone out there approaches the debate with a similarly positive and curious attitude. That's all for classical liberalism this time. I'll be back next time to advance classical liberal values one step at a time. Subscribe if you want to follow our story. The transcripts are available on my website and my Medium profile. And remember to resist collectivism and stay individualistic. The world depends on it.